Srivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Hare Krishna making those beautiful.
Thank you. Amazing. So sound is very powerful, and we've all been shaped by that which we've heard, and we continue to be shaped by that which we hear. So here's a quote from Pythagoras: "A wound from a tongue is worse than a wound from a sword, for the latter affects only the body, the former the spirit." Now we understand from the Vedic perspective that the word doesn't actually hurt Atma, but it hurts your Shukshma Sharira, your psychological body. I'm sure many people, they remember 20, 30 years ago, oh, this person said this to me. And it burns, especially if that person's really close to you, right? It really burns family member, husband, wife, partner, brother, sister. These words burn deeply. And we may go the rest of our life not talking to someone because of something they said. Or just conversely, someone may say something to you and it's very impactful. And it shapes the rest of your life, that advice. You went to see a clairvoyant at the hippie fair, and that clairvoyant told you something, and then you identify with that. There's little things we hear here and there, and we really take them into our heart, and they can be positive or negative. Also, sound shapes instantaneously our mood. If you listen to some music, you feel happy. Or some disturbing sound, storm's coming, and you go into an anxiety. So sound is so powerful, and this is just material sound. And also it has a biological, chemical effect on the body as well. So just by hearing different sound that puts us in anxiety, our sympathetic nervous system activates. Or if we hear some relaxing sound, some relaxing words, the parasympathetic nervous system activates. Sound can also trigger dopamine releases within the body. Or if you're in a state of stress, cortisol can be released in the body. All this just through sound. So sound is so powerful. So we should also be careful about what we speak, yes.
What do you mean by music illicit?
Illicit invokes. So, like I've already mentioned, one word, one phrase, one argument shapes you can define that person for the rest of your life through one argument. Hold on to something. You know? Husband and wife argue all the things I've done from the past. You've done this once, on that one time. I'm sure none of you ladies have picked that girl for about it before. We can do it too, you know. So also with children, you know, what we speak to children, that shapes them, particularly up to the age of 7, that forms the structure of their personality for the rest of their life. So parents have a great responsibility. What are we exposing our children to? What sound vibration? And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, so another aspect of hearing is silence. Because so often, when Rajagun is there, we're just speaking, or if we have to tolerate listening to someone, it's only so then I can speak my opinion. And we don't have such a capacity to hear people. So Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, of all secret things silence. And what happens when you sit down and and you meditate, or you sit down in nature, you sit down on the beach, you may even sit down for a cup of tea, cup of chai, and the mind can quiet even for a moment. And what happens in that space? You actually can listen. You sit down in nature and think, oh, nothing's happening here. And then you hear the sounds of the birds, the movement of the trees, and your subtle awareness, your vivek, begins to manifest in all what's going on around. In the beginning, you had no awareness of it. So you're not just listening with your ears, you're listening with your eyes, your entire senses. So we cannot listen when the mind is in a state of oscillation, where it's already got so much static and noise going on. So having a quiet mind is a prerequisition for actually hearing. So perhaps you know the history. Actually, the greatest faculty, the greatest capacity that ear can have, the greatest potential that ear can have, is to fall in love through your ears. When you meet someone, we are so visually orientated in modern times. So we see this person, oh yes, I fall in love with you. That's lust, really. When it's from the eyes, often it's lust. But we don't know anything about that person. But we're attracted to their body. So I'm not saying it's the case every time. Often it can be more lust. Because we're lusting to enjoy the body. But there's many Indians in the audience, Indian body people. So arranged marriage is still very strong in Indian culture. But what do you know about the person that your parents have picked to arrange marriage? You may not see them. Many people still today, the first time they see husband and wife, and the veil is right.
Surprise.
Yes. Have you hit the jackpot or not? But still we don't know just by seeing. We can tell something from the eyes. You have to hear. And from hearing, then you can know their heart. So your parents may tell you, your cousin, sister, brother may tell you something. Oh yes, this person, very tall, very handsome. Oh, she has so many good qualities. So you're hearing. And by this hearing, what's happening? You're falling in love with this person. From their qualities, not from their physicality. So this is different to Gandhava marriage. You know, there's 8 kinds of marriage told in Sastra. So you just put the Valanda flowers on, Gandhava marriage, right? So this is very popular in modern times, love marriage. But this is often in Rajagun. And then Rajagun descends, and another statistic for divorce. Because Rajagun is not stable. You know, actually, one of my teachers has a very beautiful story. When he was first asked to teach, there was a small number of students, about 1,000. And there was one Japanese man who was always their student. And one day all the Westerners, they were talking about love. Really lust, but their idea of love anyway. And then the Japanese man, quite uncharacteristically, he spoke up. He was quite elder. And he said, you know, in my culture, we get married when we're quite young. So arranged marriage is there also. And we don't actually assume we know what the word love even means. We don't know. We don't go into the marriage with this idea, I know what love means. Because if you already have a concept in your mind, then basically that person's going to fit inside that box, or they're not. And if they don't, problem coming. Isn't it? So to have this kind of curiosity, what actually is love? I don't know. So then the Japanese man, he's saying, it's the goal of our marriage to find out what is love. And we're going to explore that together. And getting ahead of ourselves. And so, then the Japanese man, he's sharing. When I first got married with my wife, there was many little things about her that kind of annoyed me. And I tried to change those things in her. And then with a big beaming smile, he said to everyone, and then I stopped doing that. And it only took me 14 years. 14 years to stop trying to change my wife. Westerners, cringing, 14 years. And then the teacher, he spoke up and he said, wow, 14 years, so quick. So quick. And then he's still thinking 14 years will be a long time. But actually, particularly in Western relationship, people go their whole life with never accepting their partner. Subliminally trying to change so many little things. But this man started 14 years to stop doing that, and he accepted his wife fully. And that's what every person wants, just to be accepted as they are. I want someone to love me. With all my stupid things I do, I just want someone to love me. So we've done it 14 years, so quick. So this kind of curiosity, what is love? So that's a little segue. So there's a famous history told in Sastra about someone who fell in love by hearing. And she wrote the first ever love letter. Know who that was? Rukmini Devi. Daughter of Bhishma Maharaj. So we know the history that Rukmini, she was her brother, Rukmi, he was the eldest brother. And I think he had 3 other brothers, and then came Rukmini. And so Rukmi, his friend was Shishupal, who we know was envious towards Krishna. And when Shishupal was young, then the Akashvani came from the sky that whoever will kill you, because he had 4 arms, right? When he was born, he had 4 arms. And whoever holds you and those 2 arms disappear, the Akashvani said, that person's going to kill you. So then, I think, was Krishna his uncle? Anyway, I think related in some way. So Krishna came there and held little Shishupal, and 2 arms disappeared. Oh, and then they knew, Krishna's going to kill Shishupal. But then I think it was his mother pleaded with Krishna, don't kill my son. So then Krishna gave the boon, okay, I won't kill your son, but only if he says 100 offensive things consecutively. Like, we may not like someone, but generally it's hard to be there for 100 different insults consecutively. You have to be there for a long time insulting someone. So the mother accepted that boon. So from a young age, Shishupal knew that Krishna was going to kill him. So he was very envious towards Krishna. And so Shishupal and Rukmi, they were friends. And it became the time for Rukmini's marriage. And she didn't want to be married to Shishupal. And Rukmi convinced his father, oh yes, you should marry my sister to Shishupal. And Rukmini, being a follower of Dharma, accepted, yes, I will follow the order of my brother, but inside her heart was broken. Because she'd heard about who? Krishna. What woman would not want to be married to Krishna? So then she decided, I'm going to write a letter to Krishna. And she shared her heart in that letter to Krishna. And she gave that letter to one Brahmana, and then that Brahmana, he agreed, I'll take this letter to Krishna. And so, the world's first love letter was written by Rukmini Devi to Krishna. And she was very anxious because her marriage was coming up very soon to Shishupal. And she pleaded in that letter, oh, please Krishna, take me as your wife. And so Krishna received the letter from the Brahmana. And at this point, he was still brahmachari. And when Balaram had been married to Parvati, who was the giant, and then was photoshopped onto sites by his plough. And so Krishna, he was still in love with Radharani. And he was just waiting for the time when he'd defeat all the Asuras and return back to Braja. Because Iksuru, they are one Atma, but they've taken two forms. So Krishna was always meditating in the heart when can I return back to Braja. But this Rukmini, she wrote to Krishna, please accept me. And she was in distress. So anyone who wholeheartedly surrenders to Krishna, Srila Prabhupada says, anyone who surrenders to Krishna the way Rukmini did, Krishna will absolutely come and save them. So Krishna was in a quandary. And actually he wrote to Radharani and he asked for permission to marry Rukmini. There's many other subtle histories about the identity of Rukmini and Satyabhama revealed in Lalit Madhav Natakam by Rupa Goswami, but there's a whole nother katha. So, Rukmini, she was in distress, and the Brahmana did not return. But Krishna instructed the Brahmana, okay, I will remedy this situation. Return back to Rukmini and pass on my message. But Rukmini was looking at the time, where's this Brahmana? And then the day of the marriage came. Imagine the anxiety. She has to marry Shishupal. She wants to marry God. And so in the letter, she wrote, why would I want to be married to Shishupal? A material body that is, the material body is just like a bag of skin and bones, pus, urine and stool, decorated with a moustache. But I want to be married to Navakishore, beautiful Krishna who's ever fresh, adorned in a yellow pitambar. How handsome is Krishna with his curling locks. And she said that I have shamelessly fixed my mind upon you, Krishna, because this is not really the etiquette of a princess to write like this to someone, because she was requesting Rakshasa marriage, Raksha marriage where the Kshatriya will come and kidnap the wife and fight off anyone who's trying to defend. So she was requesting this of Krishna and to remove her distress. And she said, my dear lotus-eyed Lord, let Shishupal never touch the hero's portion like a jackal stealing the property of a lion. Krishna's like a lion in the Singha avatar. And so she's saying, Rukmini saying, I am rightfully your property. Why should this low-born jackal come and take these goods? They belong to you, Krishna. So the day of the marriage came, and Rukmini, she went through the Mandira Bhavani. And she was doing puja and everything with all her sakis, all her maidservants at the temple of Bhavani. And all the other Maharajas and kings and everything were there. And they were totally bewildered by the beauty of Rukmini Devi. And just seeing her beauty, many of them fell off unconscious and fell off the elephants. And they dropped their weapons to the ground. All these things are described in Bhagavatam. And so, Rukmini, she was very shy, but seeing all those kings, from the corner of her sidelong glance, she saw Krishna in the audience. And back in Dwarka, Balaram, he had heard that his brother, without telling anyone else apart from Daruka, his chariot driver, that they'd gone to the kingdom to kidnap Rukmini. So then Balaram thought, oh, my brother always doing stupid things, I better go off and help him out. So off he went as well. And Rukmini also had written in her letter, if you don't accept me as your wife, then I will perform tapas in this life and give up my body. And then in the next life, again I will perform tapas. And if that doesn't work, again in the next life. Ekagrita chitta, one pointed focus on Bhagavan. Do or die. Kind of like the Ombe in Mahabharata, yeah? But that was with a vengeance to kill Bhishmadev. But this was in a better context. So she was so determined to have Krishna as her husband. So then, Krishna, once she'd finished the puja to Bhavani, Krishna came and kidnapped her and took her onto the chariot. And then off Krishna went, and he was fighting off so many other people. And Rukmini was furious, Shishupal was furious. And one of the proofs that Rukmini wanted Krishna as her husband is as Krishna was on the chariot fighting off the other princes and maharajas, Rukmini took the reins of the chariot and she was driving the chariot while Krishna was fighting. So this is not like other Rakshasa marriages where the woman's screaming out helplessly and trying to get her family members to take her back. No, this lady, she wanted to be kidnapped because who wouldn't want to be kidnapped by Krishna? So as Krishna was fighting off the other opponents and Rukmini was taking the reins of the chariot and going away, then also Balaram, he arrived on the scene and he intercepted and fought off the other armies who were opposing as well. You know, previous to the Brahmana coming, Rukmini was in such distress, but then on her left side she felt some twitching, because usually it's auspicious when it's in the right side, but in ladies it's reversed. So on the left side she felt some twitching and she knew something auspicious is going to happen. And then she saw, oh, the Brahmana was coming back, he's returned with a message from Krishna. So we're just giving a little brief rundown of how Rukmini, Rukmini came after the chariot, and then he was fighting with Krishna to get his sister back, to give to Shishupal. But then Krishna defeated him and he lifted his sword and he was going to kill him. But then Rukmini, she pleaded with Krishna, oh no, spare the life of my brother. The woman's heart is very soft. And then Balaram said, give him a silly haircut. To be disfigured is more shameful than death. So then Krishna gave him a very unique hairstyle and allowed Rukmini to live. And Rukmini actually stayed in that spot and then created one down right in that spot. And he was consoled by his friend Shishupal, because previously Shishupal had attacked Mathura 17 times. And he said to Rukmini, you just have to wait for the tides of time for Providence to be in your favor. I attacked Mathura 17 times, but then on the 18th time I was victorious against Krishna, because Krishna had left Mathura and gone up the mountain, but then he set the mountain on fire, Jarasandha. So Rukmini, he was left there with his haircut, and then Rukmini and Krishna left. Catch you later, losers. And they went off to Dwarka. And then, as we know, that opened the door for Krishna to get married. And how many queens did Krishna end up having?
16,000.
16,108
18.
16,108 wives. Who can do that? Only God. And also Krishna married all of them simultaneously in one muhurta, 48-minute period, astrological period. Who can do that? Only Bhagavan. And because Narad Rishi saw that, he was there at every single marriage ceremony simultaneously. And not only that, Vasudeva and Devaki, they were also present at every single marriage ceremony simultaneously. Krishna has all opulence. So that was the marriage of Rukmini Devi and Krishna. So how is this relevant to tonight's topic? Anyone make the link? I said it already.
Listen.
How did she fall in love with Krishna? By hearing. And Krishna already knew everything about her. He knew her sincerity. He knew that she was 100% dedicated to him. So with that kind of Shanagati surrender, Krishna is 100% obligated to come. So what is the purpose of hearing about all this Harikatha, reading Sastra? This is how we fall in love with Krishna. Hearing about his name, form, qualities, pastimes, associates. You can't fall in love with empty space. Many people think, oh yes, the Brahma Jyoti, the ultimate reality is Brahman, Nirvikar, Nirvishesh, formless light. But there's no history in Sastra of someone writing to Brahman, oh, marry me, Brahman, the formless akar, the formless space. You can't fall in love with emptiness. But Krishna is such an Ananda Roop, a condensed form of knowledge, bliss, and eternity in form. Oh, very attractive. All attractive. That's the literal meaning of Krishna. So who's more attractive than Krishna? So every week we're coming and we're hearing some Harikatha. This is how you fall in love with Krishna. So it has a great purpose. So first, we're hearing Atma Tattva. We're reading Bhagavad Gita, hearing Krishna's immortal words and understanding, I am Atma. I'm soul, I'm not my body, I'm not my mind. So first understand who we are, and then from there, oh, what? The soul has this propensity still to love. Once my guru said, everyone's looking for love, but you are love. So soon as you're looking for it, you've already lost yourself. The soul is love. But the soul wants to reciprocate, have a loving, eternal exchange of love. So first we understand we're soul. But how will I find that eternal relationship of love? Has to be with another eternal being. It's Krishna. So then we hear the beautiful pastimes of Krishna, 10th Canto Bhagavatam. How he's stealing butter, how he's stealing yogurt, how he's getting up to all kinds of mischief, and heart melts. Because it's very easy. We see children, baby, oh, heart softens. So first Krishna comes Gopal, and he steals your heart. And then before you know it, oh, your heart's already been stolen. And you're offering him so many things. Bal Gopal. And then Navakishore, the beautiful pastimes of Krishna and the Gopis. The pastimes of pure love. Pure love, no lust whatsoever. And hearing about these pastimes of pure, untainted love, this is the cure for lust. This is written in the Sastra. This will cure our lust for material attachment by hearing about the pure pastimes of Krishna. So then our heart becomes like Rukmini. Oh, I want to see this Krishna. I've heard he's so beautiful. And then Sadhu's coming, Shabda Brahma, like Pranavallabha was sharing. This is because Krishna is living in the heart of Sadhu. Vrindavan is in the heart of the Sadhu. So when Sadhu speaks, Shabda Brahma, Vrindavan Dham is getting transmitted to us. And then we have a desire, oh yes, I want to see Krishna. So, just like Krishna stole the clothes of the gopis in the river, and then he hid up the tree, right? You have to go to Krishna naked. What does that mean? No material samskaras, no material. Krishna knows everything about you. So surrender to Krishna, like Rukmini did, shamelessly. And Krishna will be bound to come to you. And so it's also told, anyone who just desires to hear Bhagavatam, they haven't even heard Bhagavatam yet, but they have the sincere desire to really hear Bhagavatam. Let's not come along and be entertained, or just come along and hear some story and some material. Really sincerely hear Bhagavatam in their heart. Just having that sincere desire, at once Krishna becomes bound in your heart. You haven't even come along to the Sunday program yet, but you have this desire, I want to hear this Bhagavatam. Krishna's already bound in your heart. And then, by hearing and chanting, Krishna Satchidananda will manifest. And then you'll realize, what would mean you realize, oh yes, Krishna is so handsome. Very beautiful. So, this is the power of hearing. Fall in love. Fall in love with Krishna. So, thank you very much for listening, and I encourage everyone to hear more beautiful Harikatha every day. Hear Bhagavatam, hear Bhagavad Gita, and in this way you'll fall in love. In the words of Mirabai, let our eyes touch something that makes the hands smile. No, something like that. Let our hands touch something that makes the eyes smile. So you can have Thakurji at home, you can have a picture of Krishna. And in this way, all the senses can be dovetailed to Krishna. Smell the doop that's been offered to Krishna. Taste the prasadam that's been offered to Krishna. Hear the Harikatha of Krishna. Hear the japa, the kirtan of Krishna. See the beautiful vigraha of Krishna. And in this way, everything becomes purified. And then we can meet Sadhu. And Sadhu puts our hand in Krishna's hand, and we can enter into the magic of Vrindavan Dham. So sound is most powerful when it's dovetailed with Krishna. Krishna Kanala Ki
Jai.
Jai Jai Shri
Radhe
Shyam.